All right, well, I just want to say welcome and thank you for spending some time. You guys know a passion of mine is to be a pastor. And today we're going to talk about being a pastor and how using that platform can show to everybody that we come in contact with that God does value them and God does care for them. We often go and have conversations or that we hear on the internet or see on TV that people always wonder if God is for them or if He is just for certain people. And we all together know that God is for us. And sometimes it just takes us to look through the lenses of God and just see how He does love us and how He does value us. And so I just have 3 points just to share with you today about how using the platform of ministry I can show that to people. And I just want you guys to think in your situations, in your lives, your jobs, your communities, about how you can show that value of human life that God does desire. And so the first point I just want to share with you is that a pastor must be willing to do the same that he asks of his congregation. And if a pastor is wanting his congregation to go out and make disciples, just as it says in Matthew 28, that he must be leading that charge. He must be focusing on making relationships, whether that be out of the country, whether that be in his community. I think of no greater pastor than here in Metro Atlanta than Andy Stanley, who recently was quoted in his new book, Deep and Wide, that a church that is made for saved people is a church that is full of hypocrites. And basically meaning we understand that God has created a church for us to gather as worshipers, but it is also an extended invitation for those who have not received Jesus or who have not heard the good news of the gospel to come in and just have an encounter with God. And we must understand as well that as pastors, if we are wanting to see our congregations grow, we must have to go out and reach these. We can't be satisfied with getting up and preaching to the same 50, 100 people on a weekly basis. We need to see our congregations grow. And then secondly, a pastor must understand the sacrifices it takes to lead a church. And the paychecks are small and the days are long, but when you are going and putting people's needs in front of your own, it's rewarding. And when we're doing this, God is always taking care of our needs without even us even knowing. And we must be humble in the good and the bad times. And I think of humbleness, I think of James 4:6, where it says that God opposes the proud, but He gives grace to those that are humble. And then my last point is that a pastor must value each relationship that he has, whether that be in his life, in his church, during his lifetime, he must value that. And I think of Francis Chan in his quote recently from one of his latest sermons. He's a well-respected pastor, well-respected author. He states that, "Did you know that anything in this life that you do is meaningless unless it's about loving God and loving the people that He has created?" And when I think about love, there's no greater scripture than in 1 John 14:19, where it says that we love because He loved us first. And when we understand that exchange, that God created us, He loved us first, He was the first creation being to ever give out love. When we understand that and know that we can turn around and we can share that with the people in our communities. So just again, 3 quick easy points. It wasn't going to take too long for you. Just again, one, that a pastor must be willing to do what he asks of his congregation. He must understand the sacrifices that it takes to lead a church, and he must value every relationship that comes into his life. And so I just challenge you guys, as you go out in your days, in your workplaces, how can you show to people how God values them? And just praying for you and know that God can just do measurably